What is going on, guys? We're on our final week for this month's Overture Tides of War chapter, but before I talk about how I progressed this week, I want to quickly try to give a solution for the bug progression tracking issue where players aren't able to progress through various missions. Now, this is what has just worked for me, so I apologize if this doesn't solve your problem, but what I did notice is when I hit the start button on the right side of my screen, there are my daily orders, then the top there are the Tides of War missions. However, when I noticed Tides of Wars was not tracking for me, it was when I was in the start menu and noticed only my daily orders and no Tides of War missions on the top right. So all I did was leave out of that game and join a new server, and at the very beginning of that game I would click the start button to make sure in that menu screen I would see the Tides of War tracking on the top right. That's when I knew I was good to go, and I knew that then the Tides of War was going to track then on for me. So not sure if that will work for everyone, but it did work for me. It is still a bit of a pain to have to leave the game and join a new one, but it beats waiting at the end of the game and doing all that progression and end up finding out that it wasn't progressing at all. So hopefully that will help you guys out and solve that little bug issue that we've all been having problems with. But let's now get into how I progressed for this week, which was pretty easy in my opinion. If not, most of these Tides of War challenges aren't pretty easy to begin with. But the first part, we had to complete one Grand Operations game. So to speed this one up, I went into the server browser and got into one of the back end of the Grand Operations games that we're almost over with. So in this case, I joined the 0652, which is at the very end of the Battle of Narvik. And if I would have started at the very beginning, I would have had to have played 2 games on Narvik and then played a third and possibly a 4th game on VL 652. So I saved myself playing possibly 4 games, and most of the time you only end up playing 1 on VL 652 and basically all the other maps, for at least in my situation. I've yet to play on the 4th day of Grand Operations, so you're saving yourself some time here. If you're looking for other maps that are on the back end of their Grand Operations, you can play maps like Arras, Devastation, and Aerodrome. So look for those maps in your server browser, and again, whether you win or lose, it doesn't matter. It will count for a completion of you finishing one Grand Operations game. Then I moved on to playing another Grand Operations, which was on the maps Hamada and Aerodrome, and was actually able to complete the rest of the missions by just playing that next Grand Operations. So what I did was move on to the next part where I had to get 2,600 objective points, which is pretty easy. All you need to do is play the objective, so whether you're capping the objective or defending the objective, it should all go to these 2,600 points. And then when it came to branch off in the Tides of War progression, I just kept right down the middle, as it allowed me to continue progressing while playing Grand Operations, and I didn't have to jump off the server I was on and go play other game modes like Domination or Team Deathmatch that were required on the top part of the progression tree. So especially when you're having that bug issue where some servers are registering your progression and some aren't, when you find a server that does work for you, kind of want to stay on it. Now, you could progress on the bottom part, as the first part requires you to get 3 explosive kills with either like dynamite or using a grenade or a grenade launcher, but the second part requires you as a squad to arm a bomb, and I imagine that can only be done on Airborne, and considering Airborne is only 1 out of possibly 3 or 4 games you're playing on Grand Operations, and if you don't get a chance to do that, you're kind of left not being able to progress on those other games you're playing. So it was just much easier for me to stay on the middle path, and even though you had that extra mission you had to do, they were all pretty easy in my opinion. So the first one you had to build with 5 fortifications in the objective area, and again, still playing Grand Operations, that is very easy for you to go do. Then you had to capture 3 points in Grand Operations, so whether you're playing on Breakthrough or other game modes like Frontlines, all you need to do is capture 3 of these and you'll be able to move on to the next progression. And then you finally had to kill 5 enemies while defending the objective, so make sure you're on the objective zone, and you'll notice this by looking on your mini-map, and you'll see the lighter shade of tone that indicates to you the objective zone you need to stay on. So as long as you're on that area, you can shoot players off of that zone wherever they are on the map, and it'll count as 1 enemy killed while defending the objective. And last, you have to win 1 Grand Operation. So this one is when it does matter whether you win or lose. And so do make sure that you try to get the W on this one so you can complete that final mission and get our weekly reward. So again, I was able to complete that by after finishing the back end of VL 652. I played Hamada and Aerodrome, and we ended up winning, and I was able to complete all those missions during the gameplay time. So it was really perfect for me, and I was able to complete it rather easily. So again, you could jump onto the top part and play Domination and team deathmatch. I did do a little bit of that. I did notice that getting the 10 headshots for the team deathmatch was actually a little bit grindy, but you can do that if you feel more comfortable playing on those other game modes. You can then again branch down onto the bottom part and get those 3 explosive kills. I would prefer dropping some dynamite by an entrance of a door where you think players are going to push through, and just wait there for a little bit and detonate your dynamite, and you're going to get a couple kills just by doing that. Then finally, you would have to arm a bomb while playing Airborne. And all you need to do is just arm it, so even if the enemy disarms your bomb, it will still count for you. But I would recommend playing as a medic class or having someone on your team throwing smoke bombs, because it makes it much easier, as again the enemy players are going to be hovered around that area. So throwing the smoke bombs in there after you run over the bomb that you see on the ground, all you need to do is run over it and you'll pick it up, and then go over to the artillery weapons, and all you need to get to is just right next to it and hit the X button on your Xbox controller, and that will arm the bomb and complete that mission for you. But that is how I progressed for this week's Tides of War missions. Hopefully that bug fix helps you guys out. Again, I know how much of a pain that can be, so hopefully DICE can get that resolved for our next month's Tides of War's missions, and we can get more consistency when it comes to our progression. So that is it for you guys today, though. Again, I always appreciate you guys being here. I am Living, and I'll catch you guys again later.